Hi, Lindas.
Hello.
Hi. I am joined this evening with a friend of the podcast, Rachel.
Woot woot.
And our guest, Liz. Hi, Liz.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Liz.
Liz is she's a beverage connoisseur. Whether it's a cocktail, it's a coffee, it's just something that's going to soothe your insides.
True story.
In liquid form. Call Liz.
Please.
Mm-hmm.
I like to craft them.
She likes to craft these liquids.
And share.
How was your week?
Pretty darn good.
Yeah.
I am getting ready and gearing up for hosting Thanksgiving meal at my house for the first time ever. So I am super stoked about that. And so I am also trying to get okay and comfortable with the fact that my house is disgusting. And the people that are coming over to my house will not care. Or if they do, they can stand outside and I'll make them beverages.
All right.
It's not disgusting. It's that her, what's the word? Her design taste is boho chaos.
Yes. I think I've seen that tab on Williams-Sonoma. For Urban Outfitters.
Definitely Urban Outfitters.
Boho
if it's going to be either
chaos.
one of those. Boho chaos.
In the home section of Urban Outfitters. I think I've seen that. How about your week, Rachel?
It's been pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's birthday week for me. It's my birthday this
week.
week. And usually I have some kind of major existential crisis on my birthday.
Yeah?
And considering I'm just kind of constantly living in existential crisis land right now, it really wasn't that bad of a birthday.
Yeah.
I ate an apple fritter for breakfast. Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome.
And then I went home to a kid that was vomiting, which was fun. And yeah.
Delightful.
It was a good day.
How old are you now? 47?
49, 11. 49, 11.
49,
No, 31.
31. You don't look a day over
12. It's the pigtails. It's the fucking pigtails. Damn it.
Yeah, there's that.
Yeah.
Had a pretty good week.
We didn't even ask you. You didn't let us ask you. Desiree, how was your week?
It was delightful. It was a good week. I felt like it kind of flew by, but, So let's get into what is putting a smile on your face this moment.
Well, I'm pretty excited. The dog that we live with, that was my daughter's birthday present this last year of getting a new family member, has finally decided to stop trying to attack any of the men that come into the household, including the landlord, and has actually even cozied up to him and allowed him to be pet and
All right.
nuzzled, which has always been kind of like past several months has been a source of
He nuzzled
stress.
the landlord?
He
He
nuzzled
nuzzled
the landlord.
Oh my God.
Wow.
So big smile because I was real worried there for a while.
So this dog would always just attack any man that walked through?
Bark very aggressively. We picked him up in January of this last year.
It was a rescue.
A couple of years old. Very clearly had distrust of males.
As you should.
As you should, Linda. As you should.
And the first half of the year, we'd have friends over, and he'd seem to be fine. But then it would be like a shark attack where they would walk by, and he would just chomp at their pant legs.
Oh.
Sometimes ripping pants, breaking skin. Not okay. Really making me nervous. But in the past week, he has been
Chilled out.
big time chilled out.
Yeah.
So, which is great because, hosting Thanksgiving. Come to my house. Be careful of the dog. Now, still be careful if you have penis.
Because that might have been a fluke with the landlord. Rachel, what's putting a smile on your face?
Other than this drink, this fabulous rye Manhattan that Liz made.
Yeah.
Other than that?
Other
than that?
Unless that's the only thing that's putting your smile on your face these
It's making
days.
me really fucking happy. But I took myself for some retail therapy to Goodwill today.
Yeah?
This is like the fourth time Liz is having to hear this. I'm really sorry. I bought some mint green high heel shoes.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where will you wear that to?
Everywhere.
Okay.
Pretty sure everywhere. Mint green with
high heel.
satin ribbons
You
on
forgot
those
to tell me
bitches.
about the
I didn't tell you about
satin
the satin
ribbon.
ribbons. Satin ribbons.
My.
Yes.
Oh my.
Yes. It's the only place where you can be like, I need a sugar dish and some silverware. Oh, and this dress is nice. And oh, look, it's a t-shirt with He-Man on it. Yeah, definitely need that. Don't care that it came out of the boys' t-shirt section. It'll fit.
You're so little, it'll fit on you.
I'm not that little. But
Well,
it's
you
sweet of
are
you
if
to
you're
say.
shopping in the little boys section of the Goodwill.
It was the adolescent male section. I forget what they actually call it in Goodwill. It's definitely not that because that
not
sounds too
adolescent
creepy.
male.
Junior men, something like that. The
men's.
junior men's section. And I meant green heels, so it was a good day.
Score.
Goodwill's putting a smile on my face. It makes me want to pull Macklemore back out. And yeah,
Gonna pop some tags.
I did pop some tags.
What's making me happy this week?
Oh, for fuck's sake,
is-
let us ask you.
Well, it's not your job to
It
do
is
that.
my job.
I mean, if you're gonna put that on yourself,
I'm gonna put that on myself. Let
right,
me be
all
attentive
right,
to
all
your
right.
emotional needs, wife Linda. Sorry. What was I gonna ask you?
exactly. So I went to what's making me happy, putting a smile on my face is
What's
that
making
I went
you happy? What's putting a smile on your face?
too late. I started. I went to see Lady Gaga. She's on tour with her Joanne album, and I mean, I've enjoyed her music, but I've never been like, there's some diehards or some little monsters out there, and I've never been that. I've never had a desire, but a friend of mine was gifted tickets and invited me to go along with them, and I said, sure, why the hell not?
Why not? Exactly.
Why not?
Yeah.
Phenomenal. She puts on a phenomenal show. It was on the floor seats, and
What?
I was going thinking that I'm like, this will be cool. I can watch my friend kind of, geek out and, get his life over Gaga. And like, I'll enjoy, I know some of her songs, but yeah, she puts on an amazing show. So I have definitely developed a whole new appreciation for who she is as an artist.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love seeing a live show and then that something clicks. And while you maybe weren't aware of their catalog as much as their super fans are, you get hooked. That's excellent.
Yeah. I'm like a junior monster.
Yeah, you're a junior monster now.
So, Rachel, you wanted to talk about
Me.
well, what's new? You wanted to talk about wives. Our friend wives.
Friend wives.
Linda
Friend wives.
wives.
Part of the reason we started talking about this particular topic is that currently Liz is graciously allowing me to stay in her house about 3 to 4 nights a week. Is that right? Depending on the week?
Depending on the week. Sure.
Yeah, so depending on the week, about 3 to 4 nights a week, sometimes only 2. Right now, while I'm in this sort of transition point with my marriage, so part of the reason we were interested in talking about this isn't just because of the current situation; it's because of the type of friendship we've tried to cultivate over the last almost 2 years now.
Yeah.
Which is one of mutual support, which is something we're not always good at asking for, either one of us. Is that fair to say?
That is very fair to say.
Or anyone.
Or anyone. I'm not good at asking anybody for support or help.
But no
suck
one is
at
really
that.
good at it.
Really? You
Yeah.
think there are people out there who aren't better at asking for support?
I think that's a big struggle, and I think that's why most relationships are kind of rocky, because no one is actually asking for what they need. And it takes a big existential moment for it to actually happen. Like, look at Jay-Z and Beyonce, right?
Yeah.
Relationships, the unmet expectations from either partner.
Right.
Unmet because they were never stated what your
Expressed.
expectations.
Explicitly.
And that's interesting. I think that there are people out there who are way better at saying this is what I need, or there are people who are way better in anticipating other people's needs by their very nature.
Who are those people?
I was gonna say,
They're rare, but I mean,
anticipating people's needs, other people's needs. I mean, there's no one I've ever met that reaches that level.
Nope.
really.
Aside from you, you go above and beyond.
But that's the hustle part, and that's the part you do if you love someone. Is that not
Nope, that's not
That's not normal.
Oh.
I mean, it's exceptional.
Oh, well, shit.
I mean, the fact that people are so married is a miracle.
Yeah, well.
Oh.
This is obviously going to be a light topic.
We talked about the level of personal sharing, and here we're just right into it. But yeah, I think that's actually something I've struggled with in friendships in the past. But that's part of what I've been thinking about a lot is that we've tried to cultivate this relationship of vulnerability and mutual support without it being sort of surface level bullshit since we met. And then I think that is what has made it possible for us to live together over this last month, at least in our capacity that we have been, is the fact that we've tried to cultivate that relationship of vulnerability already. In fact, for me, with the changes that have come in my own life, part of that happened because of a conversation that I had with Liz, where she said to me, "Hey, like you and your partner, you're doing everything so well. Like it looks like everything's working out great, and you guys are doing it right." And it was like a knife in the gut because I wasn't feeling that way and I was having a really hard time. And I realized that I hadn't been vulnerable with this person that I'd really tried to have this intentional friendship with. So that was one of those realizations for me where it's like, if I don't start living in a way now where I'm honest about myself and how I feel, and I'm honest with the people who I want to be honest with me, then what the fuck am I even doing? Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, part of the reason we started talking about this was because we've been having, and I don't want to steal your line, kind of a Kate and Allie situation. And both Liz and her daughter have been really awesome about me sort of interrupting their life at least a few nights a week.
I wouldn't classify it as interrupting our lives at all. It's a welcome addition.
Yeah, but it's made us both think about intimacy in relationships that are not your life partner person.
True.
And the fact that really that's where we get a lot of our support from, are from these relationships that aren't your life partner. And we're not very honest about that in real life.
Yeah, I mean, we are told by society and television and movies and articles and all that stuff that, your partner, you're supposed to find the soulmate and they're going to be your everything and life's going to be great once you find them and get married and everything's great. And you quickly find out that that person is not capable of being all things to you because, they're multifaceted.
And nor are you able to do that for one person either. That's just too much on one person.
Yeah.
It's not realistic.
There's no such thing as this perfect match where you can do everything together and it's great and you'll have the same interests and it's all you ever do is those things together, and my God.
It's not healthy.
Sounds codependent.
Exactly.
Knock, knock. Who's out of the door? Codependency. And you're right. Those other elements of what makes you have to find other places. You can't and so often with friendships, like so and so, oh, where's so and so? Oh, they got a boyfriend, or oh, they got a girlfriend, so we never hear from them anymore. They get all wrapped up into that other person and they forget their friends, and then who did they come running to when the relationship ends? Like, let me back in, I need you, da, da, da. Like, well, you have to maintain those relationships, those friendships. Those, all ships need work. They're not just there to, be there for the good times or to pick you up. Like, you need to be there. It's got to be a give and take.
You got to pitch those holes.
What?
You said all ships need work.
Yeah.
I said you have to pitch those holes.
Were you a sailor in another life? Is this a phrase I'm supposed to know?
Nope. Never mind.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, so you need those other friendships to, help supplement, this partnership.
I don't think it's supplementing. And I don't think it's that you need those other relationships to, what did you just say? You said you need those other relationships to supplement, but you said something before that. I think it's actually about cultivating a community of people which your intimate partner, if you are in a monogamous relationship, is a part of, but that it is actually a wider community. And facing the fact that you're not actually just trying to fill holes that they don't fill, but that you are actually developing a community of people for your life that your spouse or partner or boyfriend or girlfriend or whoever is a part of, but not necessarily focusing on them as this. You can't necessarily focus on them as the singular figure. So actually getting to know other people in multifaceted ways as well, rather than thinking about finding people who fill in those things or supplement. That was the word you used. Did I already say that like
You
twice?
did, but that's all right.
Fuck. But not people who supplement, but people who make a life. Yeah.
It's more of a take a village or make a village situation.
Yeah.
And so what does that look like? What does that village look like? How is it formed?
Well, I think you have to, if in order for it to work, it really needs to come organically. For example, in my life, I was partnered with somebody for nearly a decade and, ended up having a young daughter, so single mom. And for various reasons, co-parent, not able to participate in any way, shape, or form. So I was very fortunate to start a job at that time, a full-time job, and I had basically a community, a built-in community with my work colleagues that kind of took the role of aunties and helped me with Kit. And that's when I got to know Rachel as well. And she would pick up my kid from school, and she would help her with her homework when I couldn't leave work right away. And that was so extremely helpful to have relationships that were being built with healthy adults and my child that I wasn't able to do at that time. And I mean, I think we're all stronger when there's multiple relations like that within whatever your family is, whether you as a single person and you have multiple friendships that are, I'm trying to figure out like what kind of pattern I'm seeing kind of like spreading, like
It's like a tree.
yeah, exactly.
Just she was hand
growing
gesturing,
out.
by the way, like this
Like
thing
blowing
with her
up.
hand. I think it's like a tree, and you get the splits, and then so you're going to have some that are a little bit closer to your trunk, and then others that are part of that kind of network of branches. Maybe
Exactly.
maybe that's more what life looks like than just two people, Doric columns right next to each other holding up one structure. Maybe it really is more organic, like a tree, and you're creating this complex web of relationships that,
Has this been something you've experienced before now?
No, not really. I mean, before now, I mean, I say that in terms of like the last couple of years. It's been growing and growing. Well, I've had very good friendships. I don't think I was able to be vulnerable with those friendships to allow them to help me in the way that I needed help.
What changed?
I think coming face to face with the reality that I just couldn't do it anymore on my own. And the stubbornness of my German Irish upbringing kind of smacking me in the face saying, something's got to give here. You're either going to lose your tiny marbles and you're going to go bananas and you won't be able to parent at all, won't be able to function at all, or you just have to really be real with people that care about you and love you. And I think hearing that from the people around me, and I believe that I had been told that before, but I wasn't open to hearing it until the last, since the last couple of years. And once that little first nugget happened, it just blossomed. And I have been very fortunate with friendships for all of my life, but I don't think I really allowed them in the way that they wanted to help. Alternately, like I thought I was being a good friend sometimes when I really wasn't. And it's been scary being vulnerable, but it has been so rewarding. And that's thanks in big part to this lady. I mean, she calls you out for sure, glaring into your face.
I'm an asshole, guys. I'm a total asshole.
So, I guess, Rachel, how do you see it? Has this been an experience you've ever had before?
No. Oh fuck no. It's actual vulnerability, and that for me has taken about a year and a half of work. After my kid was born, I really had one of those moments where I was like, I am really miserable. And something is wrong and I need to get right. And I've been lucky. I don't want to be that person's like, so my therapist, but my person, I'll call her my person. I prefer to say that. My person has actually been really good about working, being able to see that that was part of the problem and saying, you don't really have a lot of relationships where you ask for help. And it started in a way, it was really small, where she made me practice asking her for a glass of water or a cup of coffee when I would go to her office. And I actually had to try to be vulnerable, not just try to fill the roles for other people, which I've always tried really hard to do, but to actually try to be vulnerable myself. And I had an experience where I had a falling out with a friend in the middle of all of this work where someone that I had been vulnerable with that all of a sudden was just out of my life. Both of us for various reasons. And we came back together over this past summer and had a long talk about everything that went wrong. And so what I learned in that experience was the cost of the vulnerability, while it hurt when that person was out of my life, the ultimate cost was really not as heavy as I thought it was going to be. And when I started to realize that the worst thing that can happen with being vulnerable is that someone can use that against you to hurt you, I was kind of like, well, shit, I can do this because people hurt people anyway.
And also, if you're not being vulnerable, you're hurting yourself because
already,
you're not being authentic.
right? And so if you let go a little of a little of that control, it really makes a huge difference. I've discovered that recently in the relationship with my sister. I got a series of texts from her a couple of months ago that were kind of upset about me not sharing enough of my life with her. But she's always been someone where I've been worried, oh, I've got to set a good example, or I've got to do this, or I've got to do that. It's a younger sibling. And
Yeah.
so I wrote her back one long text and I was like, so I got a tattoo. I'm doing this. My marriage is going down like I went ahead and I laid it all out there in one text message, because what's the worst that she can do? Find a weak spot and pick at it?
Yeah.
But if I'm trusting her to love me the same way that I ask her to trust me to love her, then, okay, she might hurt me, but it was hurting me doing all that work to try to control that relationship. So why not?
Yeah, it's almost like the same discussion with with social media, right? Like, there's been allegedly this increase in depression because of, seeing everybody's highlight reel on social media that makes you think like, well, what the hell am I doing in my life? That it's
Right.
not as fabulous as theirs. That we are and have always tried to cultivate this image of ourselves. Internet, social media be damned. We do it in our day-to-day life with our families, since our childhoods. We want to be we want them to see whatever perfect version of a person we are, of a sibling, as a daughter, whatever, child. And you're right, you lose out. You miss out on those real connections. And so I'm glad your sister, actually, it takes addressing it to make it happen. I know I kind of recently come to Jesus, I guess. Well, not that, but same thing with my mother, right?
Right.
And I've never been my brother is much closer to my mom than I am. They talk all the time, and I usually just kind of keep to myself because that's just my personality. And I was thinking oh my God, my mom has no idea what's going on in my life, at all. Because I didn't add it on Facebook because, back then at least I was putting everything on Facebook that was going on. She didn't even know that I was nominated for an Emmy.
Dang.
I was
Shit,
it's your mom would like to know that.
yeah.
I would also like to ask you a question. Did you not call her first thing?
I didn't.
Wow.
Yeah, that's on me.
I'd be the town crier. Oh my gosh, you cannot believe this. Grams,
Yeah.
guess what I did?
Grams.
Grams.
No, I just, I just kind of kept to myself. I don't know. Not that there was anything she'd ever done to make me not want to talk to her, but it's just more like I was like, oh, I mean, I don't really tell anybody anything. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I just, stuff like that, I would post on Facebook and then people would see it and whatever. But I'm not like calling people or texting them like, oh my God, guess what happened to me? Like, that's just not, my style. So, anyways, I was thinking like okay, I'll have my, Facebook ban removed and add my mother so she could at least see my posts. And there's times when I forget that she's on there and she liked something. I'm like, oh, you saw this.
Yeah.
But seeing how close people have gotten, or, they talk to their parents or a sibling or whoever, like, at least weekly, I was like, okay, I want to do that. So I called her and I was like, hey, like, what's your schedule availability? Like, she's retired. Like, what days and times are good for you? I want to call every week. I want to get on a schedule, and it's better for me during the week to do that than on the weekend because I'm trash on the weekend. And so that's what we've been doing like the last month or so. And it's been really, really good,
And I will tell you that yes, and it's even going to get better. I've had a standing phone date with my Grams, who's essentially my mom, for years, every Sunday afternoon, and it's great. And I mean, this is a woman who does not believe in using the telephone aside from like emergencies. So usually I am babbling at her about what's going on, and she's like, "Well, that's real good then. Okay, talk to you later."
It's very Midwest of her.
It's very Midwest. But it has made such a difference in feeling connected as well to my family that for the longest time, I mean, I moved away the week after I turned 18. I moved 1,000 miles away and moved home for a little while after that, after a year and a half of being gone. And then I moved right back away. Choices, those are my choices. But I also want to connect with them, even though I don't understand where they're coming from most of the time. They don't understand where I'm coming from most of the time. But I think, luckily, with age, some of that stuff kind of falls away, where you're like, these are people I want to connect with. These are, we share genetics. I mean, we share a heart. I mean, we share, our histories. And that has been one of the greatest things in the last, I think it's been 5 or 6 years we've been doing that. Yeah. And it's very consistent. I mean, sometimes there'll be times when I'm traveling or we just have people visiting or something, but then I call Monday morning instead of Sunday afternoon, but it's weekly. That's been great. So keep that business up with your mom.
I don't know if you said it was age. I think that's really interesting. I think part of it is the vulnerability thing. Once you practice it with somebody, you get better at practicing it with other people, even people that maybe haven't been as safe in the past, and that's where it gets intense. I mean, like I was sharing before we started recording, that I told my dad about the podcast and had him listen to it, and he listened to the 2 episodes. He might have listened to the other ones. I don't know. But those people aren't his kids, so whatever. But I told my dad about it, and then I was like, oh, and by the way, we talk about my sexuality. I'm bisexual. Just heads up there.
Just FYI.
Just FYI. And but being able to share that with him, despite the whatever, risk, you think of it as risk until you do it, and then you're like, well, it's dumb. I didn't have this conversation for all those years. But, not everybody's lucky with their family, but I do think, vulnerability, it's like a muscle, and the more you exercise it, the easier it gets with other people.
And just having authentic relationships with people and not just,
surface level bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But then how do you know who is worth it? Do you just go around being authentic with everyone?
I do not, because I am from the Midwest.
For a long time I had stories that were safe and funny to tell people that I maybe didn't feel as comfortable being vulnerable with. I think part of it's an investment thing. If you think about your time as an investment.
That's an interesting question, because when I first got to know you, it was like an instantaneous, I need to know this person better.
I felt the same way, darling.
And it was like, it was very strange, because we got to know each other in a work capacity.
Right.
And it was a very professional back and forth email. It wasn't even phone calls. It wasn't even face to face. But there was just something in how you communicated. I was like, oh, this person's going to be my friend, whether they know it or not.
I am making this happen.
We
is going
basically
to happen.
decided. We met each other and we basically decided.
Yeah.
And then because she is a goddess. Because
False.
she's a goddess.
She
No,
is.
okay. Now all this sounds like we like are desperately in platonic love with each other, and then
Yeah,
we've never had
I'm
any.
I'm sitting here looking at you two,
I know.
gazing in each other's eyes while you're saying this.
It's the honeymoon period.
It is.
like-
It is, right?
It's the honeymoon
It's the
period.
first month of
It's the
living
first
together.
month of living together.
Oh my god, look at
where
these lesbians.
I make coffee in the morning. No, it is not that we've not ever had conversations where it's been like, what the fuck are you doing? And vice versa. I mean, really.
Yeah.
Which is why, like, you were talking about your grams. Do you mind if I talk about the horns?
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Her grams was like, so here you got a roommate person.
Well, this was before. I was
Before, when you were talking about it
what
potentially
was
happening.
maybe going to happen.
Yeah.
Because you had approached me about like,
Yeah.
so listen, I have this idea that I'm thinking about. Maybe this could work. What do you think?
My life is a dumpster, and I lit it on fire. Would you mind? No.
And in the conversation with my grams that Sunday, I was like, so listen, I need to run something by you because I think this is a good idea, but I also sometimes
Who the
I don't
fuck
know.
knows?
I don't know. And I mentioned that I have a good friend who needs a place to stay a few nights a week. And, you know, my daughter and I have been living in that house with that dog for, you know, by ourselves for a long time. And it's been awesome by ourselves for a long time. So adding in a new person to that is something additional.
Could be drama. It could be
You,
drama.
you never know. You never know what's going to
Yeah.
happen. But Graham was like, you know, I think that would be all right temporarily. Just be sure you don't let her see your horns.
Oh.
Yeah.
Which is the back end shit of the vulnerability, right? Because if you are vulnerable, people see you at your fucking worst.
Yeah.
At least every now and again.
Yeah.
And I thought it was really funny. Liz told me about this conversation. I'm talking about you like you're not
Yeah,
here.
that's fine.
So Liz told me about this conversation. And I was like, the fuck? Like, you think I've not seen your horns about things before? You not think I've not seen you with your hackles up? You do not scare me, woman.
Right.
Because
And see, here I thought I had hidden that so well up until that point.
But I think that's key with some of the vulnerability too, is that it can help you heal that shit that has been hurt in the past by people, especially your family. Like where your family has been around you all the time and they have convinced you that their narrative about who you are is the most correct narrative. And then, you know, and they might be like, this is what I've seen as your worst. And then someone else may go, whatever,
Yeah.
you know? Ooh, you get mad.
Ooh, you get irritated.
You get irritated.
You're
Oh,
grouchy in
God.
the morning. Oh,
You're
no.
grouchy in the morning. Oh, let me run and hide, you know, like crisis. No offense to Grams. Grams,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're lovely. Grams, I would
She
love to
is
meet
lovely.
you sometime.
And-
But I think that's the thing about it. You get
Yeah.
to let other people write the versions of yourself that they see. And sometimes they may come back with things that you're like, holy fucking shit.
Yeah.
I'm not the worst. Or my horns are just
Right.
human anger that happens to everyone every now and again.
Well, and that also speaks to the fact of having different partnerships
Yes.
aside from your intimate partner.
Yes.
I mean, because there's a reason why I am not currently partnered. And the person who I had a child with was not capable of allowing me to be vulnerable and in the way that, or just to be a human, you know. I couldn't express anything without
Human.
some sort of backlash.
Yeah.
And I really internalized that. I mean, it's taken me out. I mean, I know you're like, let's not talk about how amazing therapy is, but I mean, seriously, therapist, meditation on a daily basis, walking a dog on a daily basis, better living through chemistry, all
say,
sorts of things.
And drinking.
Yes,
Yes.
maybe a little bit of
Maybe
that
a little
too.
bit. Not like we're not advocating any kind of bad shit here, people. Sorry, that was too loud. But
You know, make wise
drinking-
choices. But I
drinking
mean,
occasionally.
everything works with whatever you can figure out that works for you. But it's not a one-off. Like it took a long time to get there from a hurt place. So it takes a long time to get to a healthier spot too. But of course, the second my grandma said that, that is when I started to doubt the idea of Rachel moving in. And I was just like, I don't, maybe that is a bad idea. And it's not even a full move in. It's like a few nights a week. It's not enough, really.
I think that's why the web of connections is important. I think that's why it's important. Like I said, otherwise you're relying on the narratives of one person that spends time with you and the narratives of the people who've known you in the past in intimate capacities, and you're not actually being vulnerable with new people. You're not figuring out who other people might see when they see you.
Yeah.
And you limit yourself. And in our experience, you find out you limit your children too. And so your kids only see one version of you, or or the version of you that they see, plus whatever your intimate partner may tell them about you, or the way they see you interact with your intimate partner or whatever. And so when you actually open up your life with your kids too, and then your kids get to see you interact with other adults that then interact with them, and hopefully love them the same way. I mean, like there are a number of children who I would jump in front of. There are a number of children who I would jump in front of a moving vehicle or in front of a bullet for, and Liz's daughter is on that list. So that's like, I think that happens though, and so there's part of it's that too. I think part of the vulnerability thing, you get kicked in the pants too with your kids, where you realize they need to see you be that way too. They need to see those other versions of you that aren't just what they see with one person.
All right. Obviously, like, I live a completely different lifestyle from you all, not having a little one and, not having ever really been married or anything like that. So dealing with that. I've kind of come to the realization myself of like not really wanting like that full-time relationship. I like the idea of having that person, that like your person. But when it comes down to reality, I don't like the person that I become when that's going on. And I'm reminded of that. But you still kind of want that person that you can like, be affectionate with. Yeah.
Sorry.
What?
I think you're going in different directions.
Yeah.
Are we going in different directions? My bad.
Yeah.
Let's we'll go with your direction. Let's go with your direction. We're not talking about fuckery. Talking about just regular old affection.
Just affection.
Just affection.
Yeah.
Tone it down.
Yeah, you're at an 11.
I need to bring you down to like a 3.
I think you can take it down to a 3.
Okay, I'll work on that.
But, because affection is more than just sex. It's...
I'm sorry, are you telling the most affectionate person at this table that affection is more than just sex? Are you really doing that?
Well, you're the one that went directly to
I
sex.
did, but that's because that's what I thought you were talking about.
That's not what I said.
And it wasn't what you said. And I should have not tried to anticipate your needs in terms of this conversation. I should have kept my damn mouth shut. Please
because
continue.
You misinterpret.
I do. That's assumption, right?
You anticipate.
Make an ass out of you and me. Assume.
Yeah. Assume assumptions. Anywho, back to what I was talking about.
Please.
Like, what is your thoughts on having that? Let's say you have this intimate friendship where you get to. I feel like it's more than just like a friends with benefits, situation. But essentially, like, let's say that, but it's more affection and emotion, but you're not beholden to that thing, labels or whatever. Like some people may call that polyamory,
platonic intimacy. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I'm thinking about platonic intimacy. Like you are that a person that you can just be fully vulnerable with, but you're not completely on the ringer for their feelings, their emotions, or whatever. That's something I've been kind of thinking about.
I think I need a little bit more clarification. Like, are you talking more about intimacy? Like, explain that a little bit further.
Like what Rachel was saying about how she's the most affectionate person at this table right now.
Yes, I am.
Oh, yeah, she is, for sure.
That's the platonic. Platonic. Damn it. Platonic. Damn your Manhattans. That's the platonic intimacy thing. Not like, you're talking like friends with benefits. So yeah, that's sex. That's fuckery.
I'm not talking about fuckery. I'm talking about the... like affectionate version of that, not just like it's about sex.
You mean friendships where you have physical affection involved?
Yes.
Platonic intimacy.
Yes.
Okay, so we've clarified this. So
yes.
so in that, where's the line?
Yes.
In platonic intimacy?
Yeah.
I am of the belief that it is wherever the fuck you want it to be. But I try not to make my friends uncomfortable with my level of intimacy because I appreciate being intimate. I'm all about hugging. I'm all about
It's not
pat
so.
your hand at dinner
I'm
sometimes.
so uncomfortable right now.
I'm currently patting Desiree's hand.
You're not even patting. It's like holding.
Oh,
it.
like
Now I'm rubbing it with my thumb.
That's your thumb is creeping me out. No, it's. I'm not just saying like my regular friend that I'm just going to turn them into a intimate friendship, because that's weird, because their friendship's already kind of based on something else.
Yes.
And unless I don't know, even if one, I don't know, I'm just no.
Okay. So I have 2 relationships like what you're talking about right now that I feel like, I mean, girl, I like you and stuff, but we're not at that level of intimate. I always hug you and I do things that make you feel awkward, and
Yes.
I tend to apparently flirt with you to the point that other people think that it's weird. And I'm sorry about that.
It's noticeable.
Apparently it's noticeable. It's just because I like you a lot. But the 2
You're
like
cool.
very thank you. Thanks.
Please go on with your statement.
What are you doing later?
I'm not going to answer that. I almost said you, but then I would have to
I know.
be on the ringer for that.
Yeah,
Go on with
go
your
on with what I'm
statement.
saying. I have 2 relationships like that right now. One of them is Liz, obviously. Where in the mornings before she goes to work, I'm like, bye, have a good day at work today. And I hug her until she goes a dead fish in my arms. She also likes to pat me to tell me to stop. We're done with this hug. Please stop hugging me.
It's
No, it's
weird.
over. It's over. It's over.
Let go.
It's over.
and
Let
then
go.
a dead fish.
Then she
Yeah.
dead
Because
fishes.
she's not getting the hint.
Then do you know what this bitch does? She goes over and she snuggles with the dog. That's the last thing she does before she leaves the house. She dead fishes me, and then she snuggles with the dog, because that's where we're at. It's fine. No, I'm fine with it. It's totally fine.
I'm a work in
It's
progress.
whatever.
That's all I have to say.
The other friendship that I have that is as highly platonically intimate is another friend of mine that's a mom, and I probably shouldn't. I warned her I would probably talk about her on the podcast, and she's like, "You're just doing that to make me feel better about how important I am." And I was like, "No, you're actually that important to me, you weirdo." But I don't know that she would want me to say her name. But those relationships, I'm also very physically affectionate with her. I tend to kiss her on the neck or the cheek, which not like tongue out, like licking her face or anything, but like a little, like just kisses. When she's stressed, I'll hold her and I'll kiss her cheek and her neck. And that level of intimacy, I don't feel weird about in those contexts. Hugging Liz until she dead fishes and pats me, kissing this other friend on the neck. Because I feel like some of those expressions of physical affection in those platonically intimate relationships, those are gifts that you give to show that person that they matter and that their physical body and physical presence matters. It's the same as reminding people that they, using your words to remind people that they are attractive or wonderful or whatever. I mean, it's just the physical embodiment of the love that you have to give, and that love extends to the people outside of what may be your monogamous intimate relationship. I'm not a big hand holder with friends in public. Like, I don't want to like walk down the street holding your hand. But if someone's having an intense conversation with me and they're stressed about something, we're sitting at a table, I will do the hand thing. Just to, it's a reassurance. It's just an outward sign of what I'm already feeling. And rather than withholding it, I just go ahead and offer it.
Yeah, it's like you're connecting your hearts. You're
Right,
like, okay,
exactly.
here is my hand to you.
And you do that with shoulders all the time.
I do that with
you
shoulders.
You touch people on the shoulder. I've noticed that. And you will do that with me sometimes. Even though and so you say you're not okay with affection. But I see you. I see you, Liz. I see you.
Yeah.
It's funny how a person's relationship with affection, differs based on experiences. And, I grew up in a household where there was hugging. My mom always was very much like, I love you, you're everything, you're going to grow up to be everything, and hugs and all. Like, I felt very supported, but for some reason I'm just awkward as fuck. And I have trouble navigating the hug, the touch, the kiss, all that, and that has more to do just with, my own little, bits of being weird. But something that I know that's kind of a running joke amongst friends is that I don't like it to hug. I'm like, no, I love to hug. Like, if I care about you, I want to hug you. It's when I give no fucks about you is when I don't want to hug you. And, or like with kissing, right? Because there's friends that like will kiss each other like on the mouth, like on the lips. And I'm like, that's so intimate. But it's because it's in my head that that kind of exchange is only meant for romantic engagements, not just friends. But I know that that's a thing. And so the times that they have, done it to me, it's actually been okay. Like I always, like I have friends that I know that do that. So I will kind of, circumvent it. But then there's been times where they have like, I don't want to say made me, but it's like, it was a moment where it felt like okay.
It was organic.
It was organic. But what I notice, it's more about, I love studying the psychology of why humans do things, and I'm too busy thinking about my reaction to and picking up their signal, because what I've noticed is that they usually do signal that they are going to like try to kiss me on the mouth, and it's been like, oh, this is happening, all right, and then it's okay, it's been fine, like nothing bad happened, it was, but it's been just I don't know, like it's not something I would do with everyone, but like these friendships of people that you have that you are really close to, and it's more like you said, just kind of showing that I see you, this, connection is, deeper than just some, frivolous, bar friendship or whatever. And I'm just trying to navigate and, be better about that. Will I ever initiate it? Probably not. Just because I'm awkward and I can't even negotiate that in a romantic setting, let alone a platonic one. But I don't know. I'm just letting the record show that I actually am an affectionate person. I just don't always show it. I'm not
For the
vulnerable.
record.
As someone that loves you, which I told you before, and I always love your reaction when I'm like, I love you, and you're like, see you, girl. Take care. Have a good one. But I mean, like, as someone that loves you, and that's another thing, is I think the saying of I love you, I think that's one thing that we feel like is only reserved for those relationships as well, and we tend to withhold in other relationships, and fuck that shit. I will tell people that I love them. That's something that I've gotten really serious about in the last few years. I know, to a certain degree, like if I'm paying attention to you as a human being, I know where your limits are, and I know when it's okay to push them and when it's not. You know what I mean? Like, I know there's a time when you're like, enough teasing, stop. Or, all right, this hug really is over. Or, yeah, all right, I'll see ya. And I think that to a certain degree, we're responsible in those platonically intimate relationships or those close friendships that maybe haven't reached that level of platonic intimacy. I'm coming for you, Des. Where if you really do care about that person, you are watching for those things. You are being a supportive, intimate partner with that person, and you are paying attention to where they're at, or at least trying to. And it's trial and error, and you're not going to always get it right, because there are times I've gone in for a hug, and you're like, not this morning.
Right.
Not this morning,
True
Rachel.
story.
Like, I'm not for that today.
Well, the morning is so...
Oh, that's weird. It's weird. It's man, I love it. Our mornings are some of my favorite things
I
now.
know.
They're my favorite. I feel like I'm gushing on this podcast. Liz, our mornings are my favorite.
They're fantastic.
They're my favorite.
I mean, coffee,
Coffee.
conversation, sometimes a hug.
Sometimes a hug.
Before you go to work. That's all right.
Before you hug the dog.
I mean, come on.
I know, he's adorable. Fucking dog.
He's adorable.
He's adorable.
What about you though? Like you, what's the thing with the stuff?
So, because we've been talking about, what we might discuss this week, I have really been going back, and it's been interesting because in high school, I was super affectionate with my friends, and my best friend in high school was a dude, and I mean, it was not a romantic relationship at all, but we were super affectionate. We held hands. I mean, we hugged. We would like snuggle watching movies, but it wasn't at that level of romance. And I never felt weird about it. He never felt. We've talked about it recently because we're still friends, and how great that was for us. And in my 20s, I also was more affectionate. And then something happened when I had my kid. I just kind of stopped that. And to this day, I don't know if it was because I became a mother and my affection like solely poured into my kid and I was getting my affection from her, or if it was the co-parent dynamic that just wasn't great. And so then I was just kind of like shutting it all down. And it just became really weird for me with any of that. And it's only been the last couple of years that I've been able to kind of regenerate and be able to do that. I don't know. There's a level of not just vulnerability. There's another word I'm trying to think of, and it's not coming to me about it. Maybe just openness, because you also have to anticipate like what that other person is, what you have to navigate the relationship between both parties. And you're right, it doesn't always mesh. It doesn't always gel in the way that you think it is. And the problem is you don't want to like have a hiccup and then like full on stop. I think I have good friends that they've been there for me for a decade, and we recently have reached a higher level of like a relationship intimacy, like platonic intimacy, and it's been wonderful. Like I don't know, the openness, and kind of like let some other things slough off the dead weight from just past hurts, just go to the wayside, and that's been amazing. But that doesn't necessarily mean we're at the same she's just not the type of platonic intimacy friend that you are. We're not hugging each other or anything.
Well, something that I've noticed with like the way that I'm definitely way more affectionate with my gay male friends than I am with anyone else. And I don't know. I mean, and these are guys that I do, genuinely love. But I feel like it's a safe space. Whereas if it's like a straight guy, it's like, oh, this guy's gonna,
What are they
think
gonna
it's
think?
something else.
Yeah.
And then, with women, it's more like, oh, God, I'm just awkward with women in general, just because, being, lesbian, it's like, are they reading into it? Am I reading into it? So I just, forgo it all.
Right.
And so I guess like being with my gay guy friends, it's more of an outlet, and I don't know, like it just feels okay, and vice versa.
That was always my experience too. Those were the only other men other than intimate partners I ever kissed on the mouth were gay friends. And I struggle with the same thing you're talking about so far as women, where it's like, are they going to think that I'm the lecherous bisexual that's like, oh, we're friends, but really I'm interested in you? No, it's like I just want to show intimacy and love. And so I also got to wrestle with that with women, just because, it's like, oh, is this getting read the wrong way?
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to think that you could just, I don't know. I don't know. It's so complicated.
It is complicated because it's not just a simple standard like this is where I'm at with you, this is where you're at with me, because it changes. I mean, there's an ebb and flow with every relationship, week after week, month after month, year after year, and sometimes it's a little more awkward between two people than it would be a few months later. And trying to navigate all of where you're at and where they are at the same time, it's never a perfect situation where you can just say this is what it is. You just have to kind of continue to anticipate and communicate and be really open with yourself about where you are at and what you're wanting.
Yeah.
I think all the times that I have failed miserably is when I really was not paying attention to where I was at.
We're trying to control things. For me, it's always been trying to control things, trying to make sure that the other person, trying to force them into a position where they where I was comfortable knowing that they loved me or cared about me, like trying to make sure that I was always perfectly above board. It's been very freeing to be like, I'm fucking human, and there are people that love me anyway. And then navigating that now, I've realized that when I'm not trying to control, anticipation is easier. Because it's not anticipation for the sake of controlling, it's anticipation for the sake of just being myself and being there for them. And that's been freeing and beautiful and wonderful.
So it sounds like what, I'm hearing and what we're kind of getting at is, let's no longer be afraid to be ourselves. Humans got a human, right? And we're gonna
Oh, damn.
we're gonna do stupid things. We're gonna be awkward. We're gonna be weird, but so what? No one died,
Right.
and open yourselves up to the people that show that they want to be there, that they want to be in your life. Like, not just any old Joe Schmo you run into in the street. Don't tell me your life story or anything like that.
Well, what if
Open
Joe
old
Schmo
wounds.
is? No, I'm just kidding. Can I make it weird for a second?
Why
It
even
wouldn't be
question?
you
Just
if you didn't. So go on.
I love both of you very much. And your awkwardness, I always perceive as a strength, not a weakness. And your beautiful moments and your supposed horns and your chaotic, wonderful home, I think is one of the most comfortable places on the planet.
You're for listeners, you need to differentiate.
Oh, yeah.
Who you're talking.
I'm pretty sure by this point in the podcast, they figured out that you're the one that thinks they're socially awkward when they're not. And Liz is the one with the chaotic home. That's, because she talked about it. She talked about it.
I mean,
We called it boho chaos.
I said it.
Chaos.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's
It's a
the thing,
mess.
though.
It's a mess.
It's
Go
not.
on.
It's not a mess.
Go on.
But I love both of you, and I see those things as strengths and not weaknesses. And I, as someone who has recently caused a few explosions of relationships in my own personal life, investing in the two of you so far as that friendship has been easy as breathing. So yeah, I'll make it weird. I love you, both of you.
And I adore you.
Let the record show that's the first time she's ever said that.
Honey, baby, Linda, what are you doing?
I'm sorry, I'm done now.
Rachel,
I'm done.
you got one?
We got honey
Yeah.
right now. Liz said she was ready with hers.
Oh, okay.
Liz said she
Just
knew what
throwing
hers
Liz
was.
under the
I'm
bus.
throwing
Liz.
under the bus. Welcome to a couple of Lindas for your first time.
Where you get thrown under the
Where
bus.
you get thrown under the bus.
Sweet. Well, luckily, I'm peeved about this all the time, so it works out. Four-way stop signs in our lovely little town. No one knows how to use them. And I live 4 blocks away from where I work, and there are 2 four-way stop signs. And I have taken to walking to work because they've made me so angry that no one knows how to use said four-way stop signs.
What do they do?
It's this stupid, they are not using the... If you arrive at the same time,
Please explain
you
it.
defer to the person to your right.
Continue.
That is not what happens. You get there, and the old dude on the other side is like, go on, and is angry at you because he's being chivalrous to allow you to go. And you're just like, dude, just treat me like a human. Just treat me like a car. Don't see me at all. Don't be polite. Just go. It's your turn to go. Don't be grouchy at me. It's your turn to go. It makes me very, very angry.
Grandpa, just go. God.
So it's actually very healthy because I've started to walk to work now. And
good for you.
It is good for me.
For your peace of mind.
It is. Because then I can watch it happen and I giggle. I'm like, ha, dummies. And I walk through the crosswalk because I have the right of way.
Well, also parking on campus is dumb, so
It is true. That is very true.
where you would end up having to park would be just the distance from your...
I'm really fortunate.
She has a really good spot.
Oh,
I have a
do
good
you?
spot. Also, I go into work an hour early, so
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
there
okay.
before anyone
That
else. So I have primo spot
Primo.
if I drive that way. But then no one knows how to use a four-way stop sign.
There's a bunch of trash people at the four-way stop, the 2 four-way stops
Always.
between you.
It doesn't matter what time of day either. That's the thing. I'm like, what is happening?
Well, and you've got that one that's like off kilter. So then it's like you can't see, and
That one's the worst.
it's real dumb.
It's real dumb. It's real close to your house and real dumb.
Why did you pick such a dumb place to live?
Such a dumb place to live. Yeah.
Because it's an awesome house.
Do you know what I love? Like I maybe use some expletives to express my feelings about a particular other driver in the car when I had your child in the car with me. And I was like, I'm really sorry. I just hate the way people drive here. And she was like, I know, my mom does too.
We have a rule that the car is a safe place. You can say whatever. And it's probably a really, really bad decision on my part. But when she was little, I may have had a potty mouth when we were driving. And she learned the word truck very early.
Truck.
Because I revisionist historied that
What,
word.
the truck?
Exactly.
Well done.
Yeah.
Well
Yeah,
done,
exactly.
Lady Malcolm Gladwell. Well done.
Thank you.
Rachel, what's yours for the week?
Well, honey, if you were going to go to a farm in order to do a workshop about how to cook some vegetables, fermentation specifically, and you know that you are going to have to pick said vegetables at said workshop, maybe be prepared for your hands to get dirty. And not be a real big pain in the ass about pulling up some radishes and being like, there's so much dirt here.
Was a farmer being prissy, or
No, it was the people
your
coming for the
classmates?
workshop, my classmates at the workshop, and it's like, yeah, it's dirt.
That's where
'Cause that's where
vegetables come from?
vegetables grow.
In the dirt.
In the
Honey,
dirt.
baby, where do
Honey.
you think it comes from?
Honey, where do you think they come from? Where do you think it comes from?
You think you're just gonna get it from Kroger's and
Yes,
call it
I'm
a
going
day?
to buy these vegetables at Kroger. I'm going to drive them out to the middle of Nowheresville, and then I'm going to do the stuff with them. No, you're going to put your hands in the freaking dirt. God,
dummies.
come on. Vegetables, hey, world, vegetables grow in the dirt. They grow in the dirt. That's where plants grow, is in the dirt.
Yeah.
And if you're pulling up root vegetables, which are vegetables that are also roots, for those of you out there that may not understand this, it's called dirt. And it's where they are because it's where they grow.
The more you know.
The more you... Boo, boo, boo. Right?
All right, Des. What's your honey?
What's your honey?
Lyft and other what do you call that?
Ride sharing.
Ride sharing apps and companies. Please get your shit together, okay? So I was in Louisville for said Lady Gaga concert. This was a Monday night. And, we're leaving the concert. We Ubered over because we thought that would be the safe and maybe economical thing to do, right?
You were wrong.
Boy, was I wrong. So, we get there, no big deal. And, my friend is ordering the Lyft to get us home, but his phone died. So I'm like, all right, fine. I'll get it.
Fine.
Fine.
Friend with the dead phone.
Fine.
The honey's him, right?
No, it's
To
not
let your
him.
phone fucking die.
I was like, oh, how convenient. No, it's not. It's not him.
Okay. Got excited.
And so, and I know this, and, I've experienced the New Year's Eve, surge and rideshare, which is why I'm like, I know I'm trash for this, but I usually just fucking drive because it's a nightmare. At least with New Year's, they are set up to, there's usually point places for you to meet them, and you just go and you get your car, and it's no big deal. But whenever there's a show or like a gathering of like 1,000,005 people, I'm usually like, fuck this, because it's going to be trash trying to get a car. And it's a Monday night, so there's usually not that many drivers out during the week like that.
For those of you out there playing the drinking game with how many times Desiree says trash, I think we're up to like 17.
So
You should be drunk now.
You should be drunk. So, we're walking away from the concert location, but we're heading into another event that's letting out. And I'm kind of like, can we go ahead and get this car? Because it's going to be bananas. And sure enough, it was. And between, just not having cell service because there's so many people around, when you're in a concert, you just can't get the best reception. Finally get something, there's no cars. Finally, ding, a car pops up. And I'm like, that's mine. What's the address? Where are we going? Because I was out of town. And I saw earlier when I was looking, I saw something where it was a 700% surge. But I didn't, I just, how you can get the estimate of how much it's going to cost. Yeah. But it's like at this point, it's like, how the hell else are we getting it home?
Right.
There's no taxis in this town. There's no cabs. Like, this is our only option. There's no, public transit. And so I just was like, fuck it. And so finally, the guy, comes to us. We had to run to meet him because he was heading the wrong direction. And anywho, get home safely, all that good stuff. So all is well. But ding, when you get out of the car and it shows you the total, that'll be $117, please.
Gee Louise. Oh my God.
That
honey,
is crazy.
Really? Not, I mean...
You could have got a flight back here for that.
Right. We drove we were 15 minutes away, maybe. At 20 tops.
Wow.
$117 on a Monday night in Louisville.
Yuck.
So, a big fuck you to Lyft. And, I mean, that just goes to show, like, you might as well just fucking drive. Designate somebody to be a designated driver and just drive, because otherwise, you're stranded because everybody else is, doing the same thing as well, trying to get a car, trying to get home, trying to get their Lyft or Uber or whatever. But yeah, I was, pretty miffed about that.
My car's too old to drive for Lyft. I looked into it.
You're a liability.
I'm now a liability. My car is too old to drive for Lyft. I was like, I need another job now. I could drive for Lyft because nobody does that in this freaking town.
There is a Lyft.
There's like one,
two, I think.
Two.
Yeah, but
potentially three.
I was like, I could do that, and they was like, nope.
They're like,
you cannot.
Baby, you and your 92 Tercel.
They're like, honey, that 2000, whatever. You guys don't need to know what car I fucking drive. is too old. It's too old.
Too old.
It's too old.
We can't rely on it, I guess.
No.
Our insurance won't cover that.
It wouldn't be a lift. It'd be a letdown.
Is that what the email said?
Yeah.
Well, that's crummy.
So yeah, I will only be using Lyft when I'm in major cities and it's a weekend. But if it's during the week, fuck it, I'll just drive. Because what did we do? Did we ride it to save money?
Nope.
Right. Well, I mean, so I used Lyft during Americana Fest, and I was actually anticipating much higher surge rates. I was pleasantly surprised at the cost of them. That was Nashville. Yeah. Americana Fest. I mean, Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights.
Well, they probably have it. I mean, that was a sanctioned event where, it's city, it's everybody, like the city knows what's going on. So they probably were prepared for that. This is just a concert. Yeah. And there was like a championship soccer game going on that night too. There was no I'm pretty sure there's no coordination. So then but my issue is that you're really going to surcharge that much?
That is crazy. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how it works because I've never been a driver. I know that it's more to get drivers on the roads, as an incentive maybe is what I've heard. But you know what? Fuck it. I'll just go back to driving, I'll just not drink and I'll just drive because
you'll save a shit ton of money.
It was not worth the saving of $20 to park.
Right.
When you end up paying $117.
Yeah, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, fuck a bunch of that.
Are you able to split it at least?
Yeah. The guys I was with, they gave me some cash. They were like, sorry.
That's good friends.
It sucks that they that had to be done.
Yeah, that's platonic intimacy right there.
It is, actually. I will give you this.
I will give you some money for this bullshit Lyft.
Yeah, it was pretty garbage on Lyft's part.
You didn't say trash, you said garbage.
Drink anyway. Shoot us an email if you've got any questions or comments or suggestions of topics at coupleoflindas@gmail.com.
Gmail.com.
You wonder why I don't hang out with you. Anywho.
Please send suggestions of topics. That would be awesome.
Well,
Sorry, I'm editorializing. I'm not
I
the
was
host.
going to say thank you for joining me this evening, but I'm just going to end the show. All right.
Wise.
Good night.
Toodles.
Good night.